Hi and welcome to the Broken Meeple. No, this is not a kitchen cooking show. No, this is about board games, and today it's about an expansion to one of my favourite games of all time, Marvel Legendary. We're looking at the X-Men version now, and yeah, it is just a box lid. I don't want to have to lift up a pile of divided cards all the time, so box lid will have to do. But Legendary X-Men is now the latest expansion to this franchise, and let's face it, it's not like it's had any shortage of expansions. The Legendary series has always been a bit like, well, the equivalent of what Fantasy Flight do to Eldritch and Arkham Horror, really. It's expansion after expansion after expansion. To be fair, it's the Marvel Universe. You've got so much material to choose from the Marvel Universe that you cannot not do expansions. It's going to happen. Well, we've already had some X-Men feature in the series over time. You know, Wolverine's featured about 4 or 5 times by now, and some of the others have popped in and out. But this one is focused solely on X-Men, and more to the point, I would say, more from the sort of 90s comic era. You know, and to be fair, I've not read the comics, so sorry about that. But I love the movies. I watched all the movies, you know, the recent reboots and the older ones as well. And I did used to watch the cartoon series, hence the theme song you hopefully heard at the start of the intro. So, yeah, a lot of these characters I haven't recognised compared to some of my iconic X-Men that I'm used to. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, more characters is always a good thing. One definite thing with this expansion though is that this is, I think, the biggest one they have put out to date. There is nearly 400 cards in this. We've got everything from 15 new heroes, we've got, actually let me find the contents list, this will be an easier one to show. So yeah, 15 new heroes, we've got 7 new villain groups, 5 new henchman groups, 6 double-sided masterminds, I'll get onto that a little bit later, and a bunch of new schemes, new token cards, new bystander types, and even a deck of something called horrors. Okay, I'll get into that later as well. So yeah, there is a ton of stuff in this expansion. And did it need to be this big? Probably not, but hey, if you're going to pay the similar price to other expansions for this, then at least you're getting your money's worth. Of course, that is if you either love the X-Men or aren't too fussed about what the characters are. Because definitely you need to either be a fan of X-Men or at least be interested in that aspect of Marvel, you know, maybe not a fan, but interested to get the most out of this. Well, firstly, Onslaught and Dark Phoenix feature in this. You know, these are 2 very tough masterminds. You know, these are some of the toughest masterminds I have faced in this game to date, especially Onslaught. I have yet to beat him. I have beaten Dark Phoenix once, but it was a bit of a challenge, you know, it was a close call. But Onslaught, he just keeps knocking me sideways every single time. But the challenge is not necessarily from the masterminds in this, because the rest of the masterminds they're okay. They're not too hard, but they're also not a pushover either. They're a nice balance of challenge. Where the challenge is coming into though is the horror deck cards I mentioned earlier. What these are little subtle tweaks to, you know, a mastermind. It could be extra health, extra abilities, extra master strike card, whatever. And you can shuffle these up, you can deal them out randomly when you start a game, or you can pre-select them. And these tweak a mastermind to make them that little bit harder. So remember all those masterminds in the old sets, like Doctor Doom, Red Skull, Magneto? When was the last time you brought one of those out and had a game? Unless you own nothing but the base set, in which case, yeah, you do it all the time. But if you've got all the expansions, when was the last time you pulled out those base set villains? Pretty much never, did you? Because they got so easy with the cards that have come out now. They were only semi-challenging before, and now it's just like, you know, bing, there you go, bye-bye. Not a problem. The horrors solves this though, because you just shuffle up a few of those horrors, deal them out, your mastermind, Doctor Doom, has suddenly become that much more challenging. So if you want to play against some of those iconic villains, like, you know, Magneto's an iconic villain. You know, I like playing against Magneto, but yeah, he's so easy to beat. Shuffle in a few horrors and you might find he's just gone up that little bit further in the challenge rating. So I really do like those horror cards. I don't want to shove them on the hard masterminds, no. But they've just made all those previous masterminds that we've missed for so long, they've come back into the fray and now they're all sweet. Yay, I can use them now. Of course, if you want to just be complete masochist, then the new masterminds in this have got 2 sides to them. They are the normal and the epic versions. The epic version is basically hard mode for each of the masterminds. So if one of them was a pushover, you just flip it to its other side and suddenly it becomes harder. If you're doing this for Onslaught and Dark Phoenix, you are a true masochist, because they are hard enough on their regular side. When you flip them to epic mode, they are basically godlike. I want to see someone beat those epic Mastermind versions. I want you to show me what characters you used, I want you to show me a time-lapse video and everything, because no, they are just bad enough on normal mode. But it's nice to see that some of those easier Masterminds in the box can at least also get the same treatment. The heroes are a nice decent mix. I mean, there are some iconic ones that we remember, but a lot of these X-Men are more from the comics. So if you have read the comics from the 90s and sort of around that period, and maybe some recent ones, then you're going to recognize a lot of the heroes in here. For me, a lot of them I'd never heard of, but they're all pretty unique in how they work. They've got unique abilities and unique styles to them. So it's a nice mix, and like I say, you get 15 different heroes in here, so you get a lot of X-Men. You know, you could have so many different games with so many different X-Men, like just have an X-Men only battle, and you've got quite a fair bit of replay value just in using nothing but X-Men. It really does do well in that. Granted, yeah, I can't get attached to the characters as much as I would like, but yeah, like I said, I've not read the comics, so to be fair, it's not like I haven't said that about some of the other expansions as well. You know, the Spider-Man one, for example. Love Spider-Man, love the animated series. Forget if I even know who half of the characters in that expansion are, but, you know, that's just the way it is. Marvel Noir, again, do I know that comic? No, because I've never read it, but they're cool. They're cool to use, and in here, they're cool to use as well. You've got some interesting little abilities, like I need to remind myself of the names of them. Yes, Piercing Energy is subject to some controversy, because some people think it's a little overpowered, but I've not really come across that. Basically, Piercing Energy is like an alternative form of attack, where you substitute your normal attack value for this Piercing Energy, and it attacks the victory point value on the villain cards rather than their attack value. It can come in pretty handy though, because if you can pile up enough of that, it allows you to hit Masterminds a lot easier than if you were to try and match up their 13, 14 fight values or whatever. And certainly it makes mincemeat of a few of the villains. It's a cool little ability. I haven't come across an overpowered combo for it yet, but it's another way to play the game. It's another new mechanic. The other ones, Soaring Flight is a very good one, because that one basically when you buy the card, it goes on top of your deck. So, you know, it's almost like getting it for your next hand. That's always good, because one thing with deck builders that can get annoying for some is that you buy the card and then you got to wait for it to come through. There it is. Now, Soaring Flight, it's your next card, which is always quite a new thing. Berserk is almost a bit like a push your luck aspect. You know, you draw cards from the top of your deck and you get to add the fight value of those cards to what you've just drawn from the Berserk cards. Can work, depends how you've tailored your deck, but it is quite fun having the X-23 clone or Wolverine or something, you know, have the Berserk mode and actually go proper Berserk. You know, it's quite fitting for the characters. And it's not just them, there's another version of Beast in here that also has a little bit of Berserking at times. And lastly, you've also got X-Gene, which is based on giving you bonuses for stuff that's in your discard pile, so you can do a little bit of tweaking for your deck for that. And then Light Show, which is kind of a weird one. It's like showcasing the flashy effects that the X-Men can do. And basically, if you play so many of those Light Show cards, you get to trigger more and more abilities. Wasn't as massive a fan of the Light Show one, but it only features on, you know, a few X-Men, so it's not too bad. You know, it comes into play now and again. I haven't had like massive, you know, greatness with it, but X-Gene has been pretty good. Berserk for one time did work stupidly well when I had nothing but fight cards in the deck, and I really do like the Piercing Energy one as well. I think that was pretty good. Of course, the villains have got their fair share of annoying abilities as well. Dominate takes heroes from your HQ and puts them underneath the Mastermind or the villain, and they get buffer and buffer as, you know, as they get more underneath them. And if they escape, you lose those heroes. Dominate can be a right pain, because you might be waiting to buy that card in HQ and then suddenly, poof, Dominate, it's over there. Onslaught likes to dominate. A lot. Urgh, Onslaught. You know, I gotta go watch. Did he feature in the TV series at any point? I need to go watch that on YouTube or something, because I want to know more about that Onslaught villain. You know, is he really that hard? I mean, it sounds hard. It's like a mishmash between Magneto and Professor X, I believe. And it's like, okay, that's a pretty nasty combination. I'd certainly like to check him out in like TV form and watch him in the series if he appeared. I don't know, get in touch, let me know. Like I say, not an X-Men buff, hopefully one of you are. And also the human shields, where they capture people off the bystander deck, and you can't attack them until you get rid of the human shields. That can be a pain. You know, you need a way to rescue bystanders well, or clear off those human shields, otherwise the guy is pretty indestructible whilst he's got the human shields there. And no, you can't blast through the human shields to attack the villain. Come on, you're superheroes. You know, you're supposed to be saving these people. You have shame on you. So, X-Men Legendary. There's a couple of extra little mini rules, but I'm not going to go into stupid amounts of detail for those. I need to wrap this up. Legendary X-Men has been a brilliant expansion for this game. Whether or not you're an X-Men fan or not, you'll get something out of this. You know, granted, if I was a fan of the X-Men comics, I'd be like hugging this box because it would just, you know, be right up my street. But for what it is at the moment, it's a huge expansion. You're getting a lot for your money, and a lot of the stuff you will use. You'll use those horrors. You'll use these heroes and the villains and the masterminds. It's not like I remember Secret Wars. They put in that that weird rule about you could have someone play as the mastermind. Has anybody used those cards yet? I wasn't a big fan of them. You know, I tried them. It was okay, but yeah, I prefer to play this as a proper co-op, and I mean full co-op. So none of that, you know, getting victory point nonsense. But the new Masterminds are range from, you know, beatable to insanely challenging. So whether you want an easier time or a much harder time, you can tweak this to your heart's content. But my favourite part is definitely those horrors. I think the horrors now make a lot of those older Masterminds worth playing again. And I was missing not being able to bring some of those iconic ones out again. Now I can. So that is definitely the best addition in this box by far. So to be honest, I can't really fault this expansion. It's got a lot of cool new mechanics that aren't that complicated, they're easy to use. I never had a time where I thought, how's this work again? No, they're not fiddly at all, the villains or the hero ones. You get so much bang for your buck because, yes, okay, expansions get expensive over time, but you're getting 400 cards in here. I mean, you could literally say, I've only got the base set and then I just need my first expansion. You could jump straight into this and get a lot of buck for just the base set and this expansion. Though I still recommend maybe getting Dark City first, but that's entirely up to you. I've been buying them as they go along. If I had a choice, I would pick certain ones over others, but, you know, whatever you want to do. If you're an X-Men fan, though, you are going to get a blast out of this because you will recognise the characters, you will know them in the comics, and you will be able to get into the theme that much more. But just because I don't know every single X-Men in here doesn't mean that I can mark it down for that. That's just my lack of, you know, Marvel knowledge. I may be a Marvel fan, but yeah, there's only so much I've been able to get into the Marvel Universe. So, no choice but to give it 10 adamantium claws. This is a fantastic expansion for Legendary. It has people you'll recognise, it has great mechanics, it has content that you will use, and it is the biggest one to date. So if you just want to get a bunch of cards in one fell swoop, this is a great one to go for. So, can't really say much more about it, except I now fancy a game of Marvel Legendary after talking about it for so long. So that's it for me. I'll see you on the next episode, and for now, just take care, regardless of whether you're an X-Men fan, an Iron Man fan, a Fantastic Four fan. Are those people out there? I don't know. But whatever fan you are, Marvel or even DC, it's still only a game at the end of the day, so like what you like. See you next time, guys.